The year is coming to an end, and even if the calendar marks just another date, something inside us knows this is not an ordinary day. Because saying goodbye to a year is not just changing a number, it's looking back honestly, taking a deep breath, and recognizing everything we were able to endure. 2025 was not a perfect year. It wasn't easy, it wasn't linear, but it was real, and that alone makes it valuable. We're not here today to pretend everything went well. We're here to remember that even when things didn't turn out as we hoped, we're still standing, and that also counts as a victory. This year taught us things that were never part of the plan, lessons we didn't ask for, but that arrived anyway, moments that broke us a little, and others that, without us realizing it, rebuilt us from entirely new places. 2025 was a year of silent trials, of inner battles no one saw, of difficult decisions made alone, of long nights thinking, doubting, feeling fear, and still getting up the next day. That we learned that not everything can be controlled, that some things fall apart even when we take care of them, that some people leave without explanations, that certain paths close even after we've walked them for a long time. But we also learned something essential. Not everything that breaks is lost. Some things break to free us, to pull us out of places where we were no longer growing, to force us to look inward. This year we learned to let go, even when it hurt, even when we weren't ready, even when we wanted to hold on just a little longer. We let go of expectations. We let go of old versions of ourselves. We let go of relationships that were no longer home. We let go of the idea that everything had to go according to plan. And in that letting go, we discovered space to breathe, to rethink who we are, to ask ourselves what we truly want. 2025 was also a year of resistance, because there were days when continuing was an act of courage, days with no motivation, no certainty, no energy, only the quiet decision not to give up. We overcame fears we believed were bigger than us. We overcame stages that felt endless. We overcame versions of ourselves that no longer represented who we are. Maybe not everything was resolved. Maybe not every wound closed. But we learned to live with them without letting them define us. We learned that healing is not forgetting. It's integrating. It's accepting what we lived without allowing it to control us. This year also showed us who was truly there, who stayed when we weren't easy, who listened without judgment, who offered presence when there were no answers. And it also showed us who wasn't, and even though that hurt, it was necessary clarity, because not everyone is meant to walk with us through every stage of life. 2025 taught us that growth sometimes means being alone, but not empty, alone, but more authentic. We learned to listen to ourselves more, to respect our limits, to say no without guilt, to choose ourselves even when no one else did. This year was an emotional school. It taught us that strength doesn't always shout, that true strength is often silent. It's getting up without announcing it. It's continuing without applause. It's believing in yourself when the world doubts you. There were also good moments, moments that deserve to be honored, unexpected laughter, small victories, moments of calm in the middle of chaos. There were days when everything seemed to align, even if just for a while. Days that reminded us life can also be kind, that not everything is a struggle, that light exists and those moments matter. They matter deeply, because they were the fuel that kept us going. Today, as we say goodbye to 2025, this isn't about judging it as good or bad. It's about recognizing it as necessary. What 2025 taught us about ourselves. We often think a year is measured by what we achieved, by completed goals, by what's visible. But 2025 taught us something different, that the most important years aren't always measured in results, but in internal transformations. This year changed us from the inside, maybe not in the way we expected, but in the way we needed. It taught us to listen to ourselves when external noise was no longer enough to distract us, to recognize inner signals we used to ignore, to accept that staying the same is also a way of getting lost. 2025 forced us to look at parts of ourselves we had postponed, emotions we had stored away, decisions we had avoided, and even though it wasn't comfortable, it was honest. We learned that winning doesn't always mean moving fast, That sometimes moving forward means stopping, reordering priorities, starting again quietly. We learned that not everything is fixed by trying harder. That sometimes what heals is letting go of control, accepting limits, recognizing we can't do everything, and that it's okay. 2025 also taught us to be more compassionate with ourselves, to stop demanding immediate answers, to allow ourselves to be tired without guilt, to understand that rest is also part of the journey. Maybe this year didn't give us everything we asked for, but it gave us something more valuable: awareness. Awareness of what hurts, of what matters, of what we no longer want to repeat. And that awareness doesn't disappear. It travels with us into the new year. It accompanies us. It protects us. Because thanks to what we lived, we enter the future with a clearer, less naive, but more truthful, necessary to become who we are now, necessary to learn what we didn't know, necessary to prepare for what's coming, because what's coming is not a repetition. What's coming is a new opportunity, not to be perfect, but to be more conscious. The next year doesn't promise the absence of problems, but it does promise something better: more experience, more clarity, and more emotional maturity. We enter the new year with scars, yes, but also with wisdom, with a version of ourselves that doesn't break so easily anymore, that knows it can get through hard things, because it already has. What lies ahead doesn't depend on erasing the past, but on using what we learned, using pain to set boundaries, using mistakes to choose better, using falls to walk with more awareness. The new year doesn't need you to be someone else. It needs you to be you. But with everything you learned, don't forget what you overcame. Don't minimize what you achieved. Don't force yourself to start from zero when you're actually starting from experience. There are good things waiting. New people, lighter stages, more aligned decisions, moments you can't yet imagine, but to receive them, it's important to say goodbye properly. To say goodbye with gratitude, even to the hard things, even to what hurt, because everything had something to teach you. Today, you can close this year with a clear intention: to move forward, but not at any cost, to continue, but with respect for yourself, to continue without betraying who you are. 2025 is leaving, and you are not the same person who started it. You are stronger, more conscious, more real. And that is more than enough reason to look toward the future with hope. May the next year not be an escape, but a construction, not a race, but a chosen path. Thank you, 2025, for everything you gave us, for everything you took away, and for everything you helped us discover. The best is still ahead.